Hi, and welcome to another edition of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And there is only one word for today: victory. Victory is ours. Finally, sense has been seen. The governing body has relented to immense political pressure, pressure from the general public, pressure from common sense, and most of all, pressure from the very people it claims to represent. Today, British Cycling has banned men from cycling in women's races because it's so unfair. Now, I've been banging on about this for quite some time. There's a whole load of videos, not just about cycling, but sport in general, where men should not compete. And finally, the first one has come out and banned it. And I think this means that the tide is turned. And I think now it will be more acceptable for other sports to say, actually, no, we've wanted to do this for a long time. We've felt compelled to not do it because we don't want to be seen as ists and phobes. But now they can go ahead and do it. And they are not ists and phobes. They are now standing up for women, which is what they should have done from day one. So we can congratulate ourselves, but the war is not over. But this battle seems to be. So let's have a look at this. I'll put myself down and we will discuss. And here's the article. And it was very, very pleasant. I came in today and the sun was shining. It actually got quite warm. Everything was well and good. Then I open up this and everything got better. So let's just look at this headline. British Cycling bans trans cyclists from racing while they rework their policy, which is unfair on all women riders, after Boris Johnson said biological men should not be competing in female sporting events. Now, this is a turn, a 180-degree U-turn from British Cycling. They actually wanted male cyclists to compete against women. And it was only the world governing body that said, hang on a minute, no, stop. So, backspin, you know, because this is all spin. What you're seeing here with their, we've looked into this, is spin. They wanted it to happen, and it was only the world body said no, so they're trying to now put a spin saying, we've looked at the facts. So let's get that straight and sorted before we go deep into this. However, they have seen the error of their ways, and they know there is no way back. They know it's unfair. The metric they used was the testosterone level. But that's just a tiny part of a very, very larger system that gives men an advantage over women. But we will go through this. We will discuss this whole thing and and pat ourselves on the back, I suppose, for finally getting a win for the home team. Anyway, here we go. British Cycling has suspended its transgender and non-binary participation. It's after transgender Emily Bridges' failed attempt to enter a women's event. World governing body UCI thwarted Welsh riders' plans to compete at Derby. Bridges' mother, Sandy Sullivan, says her son has been dumped by email. Yeah, but why does he want to cheat and race women when he's a man? British Cycling today banned transgender riders from competing in national events and vowed to rework its policy, which it admitted was unfair on all women cyclists, which is what we've been saying from day one. How can they suddenly realise that this is unfair when everybody has been telling them this for a long time? Anyway, well, I'll tell you why. It's not that they didn't hear it, it's just that it didn't suit their agenda. Anyway, the UK organisation said its trans and non-binary participation policy had been suspended indefinitely pending a full review, which will begin in the coming weeks. The announcement means transgender cyclist Emily Bridges will not be able to enter a women's competition, what with him being a man and all, and comes after his failed attempt to compete in the British National Omnium Championships last week. It comes 2 days after Boris Johnson entered the row to say, I don't think that biological men should be competing in female sporting events. Now, as an aside to that, within hours of him saying that, which 99.99% of the population agree with, UK Sports, a governing funding body that gives out public money to people, sportsmen, sportswomen, said it will hand out money to transgenders who want to compete in women's events. Oh, I bet they're not going to be handing that out now, because why would they give money to a man who wants to race as a woman, knowing, oh, he'll beat other women, so he'll be a success and it'll look good on us, and now be told, no, we're going to give it to this man who wants to be a woman, who's not good enough to compete against the only other opposition he's got, i.e. other men. Well, we're not going to waste our money giving it to him, are we? Because he's not going to win. And that's fair. Anyway, his intervention, and by his we're talking about Boris again, his intervention followed furious debate in recent weeks over the participation of Bridges and transgender US swimmer Leah Thomas in women's sporting competitions. British Cycling updated its transgender and non-binary participation policy in January, which enabled Bridges to take part in a women's category, even though at the time he was still registered as a male cyclist. Bridges, who started hormone therapy last year, could enter due to his testosterone levels being below 5 nanomoles per litre for a 12-month period prior to the event. And I've mentioned before, and I'm not going to regurgitate, but all the other advantages that male puberty brings. But world governing body Union Cycliste Internationale thwarted the Welsh rider's plans to compete at Derby because it had not yet deemed him eligible to race in international competitions, and he therefore had to pull out at the 11th hour. However, Bridges would still have been able to compete in domestic events, but that is now also not possible because of the latest move by British Cycling today. Thank heavens. We have a bit of fairness for the ladies. The PM's intervention was praised by former Olympic swimmer Sharon Davis, blessed be her name, and cyclist Nicole Cook, blessed be her name. But Bridges' mother Sandy said today that her son had been dumped by email following the British cycling announcement. Meanwhile, Health Secretary Sajid Javid has urged the NHS to protect women-only hospital wards. See my previous videos regarding the NHS and their cover-up of rapes, saying it must take full account of the Equalities Watchdog ruling, which said that trans people can legally be excluded from single-sex spaces, what with them being men. British Cycling today said it had taken the decision to suspend the policy following a meeting on Wednesday due to differences between its policy and that of the UCI. In other words, our agenda, our pushing of this, our lefty, woke agenda that nobody agrees with has been thwarted by an international body that says, actually, no, we're full of it and that it's wrong. Let's, tell the truth here, guys. But Bridges' mother, Sandy Sullivan, responded shortly after the statement was made this morning, claiming her son had been dumped by email. She said the family will make a statement in the next 24 hours. Replying to a tweet from a private account, she said, we will take action, appropriate action. Yeah, I'm presuming, I don't know, taking testosterone so he can compete as a man again? Because what are you going to do? You can't win this argument. There is no action you can take. It comes after Mr. Johnson said on Wednesday, I don't think that biological men should be competing in female sporting events. Nobody thinks that, and that's the whole point. A British cycling spokesman said today, on Wednesday the 6th of April, the British Cycling Board of Directors voted in favour of an immediate suspension of the current policy, pending a full review, which will be initiated in the coming weeks. That full review mainly being, how did we blow it so badly that our agenda has been destroyed? How can we push our agenda in other directions? While the current policy was created following extensive external and internal consultation, the review will allow us time for further discussion with all stakeholders, including women and the transgender and non-binary communities, as we strive to provide all within sport with the clarity and understanding they deserve. It's simple. Do a quick blood test. If you're XX, you race with the ladies, and if you're an XY, you race with the men. And if you go, oh, but I'm XY and I've taken testosterone-reducing drugs, that's your choice. Life is full of choices. Choices have consequences. And if you don't understand that, then you're an idiot. As an organisation, they continue, we remain committed to ensuring that transgender and non-binary people are welcome, supported and celebrated in the cycling community. Celebrated? Accepted, maybe. And the inclusion of these groups within non-competitive activities remains unaffected by the suspension. Yeah. Does it though? Does it really? Because you're going to say, oh yes, we're going to have a man. It's not competitive, but the women may be uncomfortable having a man in their group. I mean, why would they be comfortable with a man in the group if they're going specifically to an all-female group for a reason? So again, women, like I say, a battle has been won, but the war has not yet been won. But we can congratulate ourselves on the battle. The statement added, in the past week we have started in earnest our work to galvanise a coalition of organisations to come together and find a better answer. It's easy. I've told you the answer. Men race as men and women race as women, and men who think they're women are still men. If you've gone through male puberty, you race with the men. The challenge is far greater than one event or one sport, and only by working together can we hope to find a timely solution which achieves fairness in a way that maintains the dignity and respect of all athletes. Fine. Let the trans race themselves. Sure, that'll be a fine example of sport of some description. You know, unfair to race with women, so don't let them race with the women. If they want to race with men, fine. They know they're going to lose, so let all the trans race each other. It was just like watching men race, only slower and less exciting. Natal female athletes. What the hell is a natal female athlete? Sorry, girls, I said the battle had been won. Yes, maybe the battle of that battle had been won. The war is still on because they're still trying to cancel women. See that? Natal females. Not women. Not ladies. Not even female. Natal females. Is that how you want to be discussed? Oh, she's not an attractive woman. She's an attractive natal female. She's not a lady rower. She's a natal female rower. She's not a lady golfer. She's a natal female golfer. Women are still being cancelled. The war is still on. But anyway, we'll move on. Natal female athletes. Screw that. Female athletes had been considering boycotting the championships if Bridges had been allowed to compete, and British Cycling's head of Olympic programmes, Sarah Symington, co-signed a letter to the UCI earlier this week criticising its current policy on transgender inclusion. The letter signatories claimed that UCI's current rules do not guarantee female athletes a fair and meaningful competition. And mentioning what I mentioned earlier, despite Mr Johnson's calls for Bridges to be banned, UK Sport, the body responsible for distributing public money, insisted that they would happily hand him lottery funding if he is deemed eligible to ride by cycling's world governing body and is good enough to compete for Great Britain. Well, obviously he is, because he's a man, but racing in the women's team, he's going to beat them. He'll be competing if he was allowed, but he's not allowed. Thank heavens. We will support every or any athlete who a sport or governing body has deemed to have future potential and is eligible to compete, said UK Sport Chief Executive Sally Mundy. Yeah, basically what they're saying is we want to destroy women's sport. So we're going to give lots of money to men so that men can compete at all levels of women's sport, and so the girls can stay at home and, I don't know, look after the children, clean the house, you know, the sort of thing that's good enough for women, according to UK Sport. This is the problem with them. They're negating women, they're cancelling women. We've already just seen natal women, and now they're saying we're going to give it to the athletes who best suit the sports, men. So they want to cancel women. They want women to just go back and not bother taking part in sport, because it is a man's thing, isn't it, sport? It's best done by men. Even women's sport, best done by men. Tits, aren't they? Bridges previously received funding of at least $8,000 when he was a British Cycling Senior Academy as a male rider named Zach, as recently as 2020. Didn't see that coming. Didn't have 2020 vision, did they? Sorry about that. After beginning hormone therapy last year, he now wants to compete in women's events, but was blocked last week by the UCI, who have convened an expert panel to review his case ahead of a decision next month. And then blah, 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 and I've covered most of that before. There's another piece here. It comes as NHS bosses are reviewing whether trans women should be allowed on female-only wards. Well, actually, they currently are. And when the rapes have happened, the NHS covers them up and lies to the police and enables rapes, protects rapists. But that's the NHS for you. As I said, you remember when you stood up there and clapped for them? A little better than Jimmy Savile, but you won't be clapping him. But you'll clap the NHS, the rapist's friend. The Equality and Human Rights Commission this week produced guidance saying it was legal for hospitals as well as other public venues to offer single-sex services. In other words, no biological men in a ladies' area. Trans people could be excluded from such areas such as wards, toilets and changing rooms. Said provided such a move was proportionate. Well, I'm going to tell you now it's proportionate, because if a rape has ever happened where a transgender man has been in a ladies only space, then that means that it might happen again. So it's proportionate to ban them from any space where it's ladies only, because it's happened. It can't be denied. Therefore, it's proportionate. Ban these people from ladies only spaces, and then the women can feel safe. An NHS equality chief led a health service mutiny over the ruling, labelling it transphobic. No, it's not transphobic to ban a man from a ladies' area. It's misogynistic to insist that they go in. You've got to take a full 180 degree around here. Why do you want to put grown biological men into women's spaces? Why do you want to put grown biological men into spaces where young girls, and young child girls at that, may be naked and vulnerable? I think anyone who wants to put a male into an area like that needs to be on some kind of register. But yeah, it's like I say, with the victories there, I'm not going to go on. It's just regurgitating some stuff. But I will come up and we will round this off. So, as I said, the battle for the hearts and minds of the sporting world seems to be over. Not all the battles, but that first battle, that's the one that will decide it. Because now that one sporting body has said, yeah, we can do this, we're comfortable in doing this, I think a lot of sporting bodies will say, yeah, okay, we'll take the lead, we'll do it too. We'll go along the same lines. We didn't want to be the first. But we will follow, and they will do it, and they will say it's manifestly unfair. We don't want to be seen as misogynistic, and they'll make trans can compete on their own. Because imagine, if you will, there's a purely trans event, and well, let's say cycling. Let's take cycling. If there was a purely trans cycling event and a fully male rider who hadn't undergone anything suddenly said, actually, I want to identify as trans now, and then goes into the race and wins it, they're all going to go, well, that's not fair, is it? And then they'll understand exactly where the women are coming from. But as I say, that's one battle. The tide has turned. I think all sports now will go down and follow that line, but it's only sports. We've seen from the language used in that article that women are still being cancelled. Natal females, for Christ's sake. And so the war continues. We don't want to cancel women. Strength. Keep going. Keep plodding on. As Winston Churchill said, when you're going through hell, keep going. And we've got to keep going. But the war will be won. Women will be saved. And I still can't get over natal females. Anyway, if you like what I say and do on this channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications of future output. Leave a like and leave a comment. And on this one, really do leave a comment. It would help the metrics no end. And that will increase its chance of being seen. And that we can celebrate this victory for what it is. A final common sense victory for women. And I thank you. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and goodbye.